This is Radio 4, and at 8:30 it's time for Saturday Night Theatre.
I'm at the house. Can you come? Well, I'm expecting a development. Right, good. Oh, by the way, the heating's off. You'll need a coat.
A Coat of Varnish by Ronald Millar, suggested by the novel by C.P. Snow, with Peter Barkworth as Frank Briers, Paul Daneman as Dr. Perryman, David Langton as Humphrey Leigh, and Mary Ellis as Lady Ashbrook.
Well?
Pulse is regular, unruffled.
I wish I felt it.
What do you feel?
Apprehension.
Given the possible prognosis, it would be unnatural not to feel a certain tension. And then the heat is...
It's not the heat. I've had a good run, a long run by any standard. Enough ought to be enough. It's not. I want to go on and on, indefinitely. Why does one tell one's doctor what one wouldn't tell a friend?
I rather hoped I qualified on either count.
You qualify. A whiskey?
No, thank you, not while I'm on duty.
Oh, my dear man.
Well, a bitter lemon, perhaps. And you?
Give me a Coca-Cola.
Right.
Ralph, no pain. All I ask is no pain. Just out. You'll see to it when the time comes.
If.
When? I don't care for the idea, you understand, but I know.
Well, in that case, without agreeing...
Or disagreeing.
I salute your courage.
There's an old military saying, it doesn't matter what your morale is. What matters is how you behave. My generation was brought up on it.
Also, your class.
I don't reject the appellation. What is class but breeding? Still respected in a racehorse, if not in the human race. We were taught, my generation, never betray emotion in public. I take it your profession is similarly instructed.
I don't recall it as part of the syllabus.
Isn't the secret of the bedside manner to dissemble, to give nothing away?
In your case, there may well be nothing to give. All the same, it's good to have company at such a time.
My grandson isn't company, he's family.
And the girl?
Never. Not while I'm alive.
She's not unattractive.
Good enough for a slap and tickle. Out of the bedroom, out of the question.
I don't remember seeing her here before.
She lives across the square. Permanently horizontal, I'm told. During one of her rare vertical moments, she picked him up, or he picked her up, I forget which, on one of his leaves.
Oh, they look well together.
The sheen of recently satisfied sex. Listen to her. Insatiable. Still, tonight, even Miss What's-Her-Name is welcome. When sentence is about to be passed, one doesn't care to be alone.
You're determined to anticipate.
And you insist on playing Let's Pretend. Very well, I'll play. What are the rules?
Merely to keep an open mind until we have the result of the tests.
Is your mind truly open?
Well,
Do you see? You dissemble already. That laboratory is taking an unconscionable time confirming the obvious.
they have to be absolutely positive, or positively negative. The phone will ring shortly. Now, until it does, try to believe that nothing is final.
My dear Ralph, as a medical man, you are, of course, obliged to lie. Pass me my cash, will you? Your usual fee?
Oh, no.
Take it.
No, there's no urgency.
Take it while the going's good.
Well, my grateful thanks.
No, mine to you, Ralph. My very grateful thanks for all your many services down the companionable years. Which reminds me, one last favour. When it happens, in a month, 2 months, whenever, I'm to be cremated and my ashes disposed of by the local vicar. No fuss of any kind, you follow?
I take it you're solicited.
Have their instructions. You'll see to things.
Oh, my dear Madge, it's really
Do
not...
I or do I not have your understanding?
Yes, but surely your grandson is the
No.
one
No, not Loseby. You. Well?
Should the eventuality arise.
Good. Then it's settled.
What is settled, Grandmama?
The anticyclone over the Azores, responsible, I gather, for the present heat wave.
Amazing, isn't it? I thought the sun had given England up as a bad job, like everyone else.
Seems before we sink strike-bound into the oil-infested waters of the North Sea, there's to be one last breathless summer.
A long, hot summer. Lovely.
Is it? I'm not so sure. Grey, cold, and wet are what we're born to. All this sun beating down tends to make London almost sinister.
Sinister?
Street after street, littered with those dreadful black plastic bags the dustmen leave when they fly off to their villas in Ibiza.
Do they really have villas in Ibiza?
No, of course they don't.
Well, maybe it's Monte Carlo.
Whatever the sun does to London is a damn sight better than being in Frankfurt looking down the wrong end of an SS-20.
I don't want to talk about the Russian army. And you better change into mufti before someone takes a pot shot at you. And that is unless Miss...
Thirkill. But please call me Susan.
Unless Miss Thirkill insists on uniform.
He looks very handsome in it, don't you think?
Loseby looks handsome in anything. Or, for that matter, nothing. But I don't have to tell you that, do I? Miss Thirkill, Dr. Perryman.
Good evening.
Hi.
How is she, Doctor?
Well, as you see, irrepressible.
I never felt less. Where in God's name did those come from?
I bought them, Lady Ashbrook. They're lilies.
A fraction early for the funeral. However, no doubt if they're tended carefully.
They're meant to cheer you up.
But I'm not despondent. I'm going out not with a whimper, but a bang. I'm having a fiesta, doing the things I've always most enjoyed doing. Concerts, Covent Garden, Henley for the last time.
Last time, nothing. I'll lay you 6-4. You get a clean bill.
Don't waste your money, boy. I never do.
Except when you lose to me at gin.
And don't count your cards before they're dealt. You're about to get your comeuppance after dinner.
I'm sorry, dear. I'll stay till 7, then I really must go.
Nonsense. You're dining here, and then you'll take your beating like a man.
I have a date.
Oh?
Not with me.
I'd get out of it if I could.
And what disreputable assignation have you in mind tonight?
Did you really talk about assignations in your wicked days?
Well, we didn't talk half as much as your friends do. We should have thought it took the edge off things.
No, we talk about bed loudly. It's only if one's thinking of something really scandalous like getting married that it has to be whispered.
And are you thinking of it? Marriage?
When I do, you'll be the first to know.
I doubt that, unless you take up table rapping.
Madge,
Humphrey! How nice.
I hope I'm not intruding.
Hello, Humph.
Why aren't you defending Europe? I slipped in through the garden door.
Ah, the famous garden door.
In case you were asleep.
In this, my dear, one can only swelter. What's the forecast?
No change. They say it's going to last.
I envy it.
Any news?
We're waiting for the telephone. Pointlessly, but to please Dr. Perryman, I'm pretending otherwise. You know each other?
By sight, I think.
By reputation. She's in good hands.
Thank you.
Well, don't say that. He'll up his charges. Loseby, give Humphrey a drink.
Something soft.
Right.
Oh, this is Sheila Thurston.
Susan Thirkill.
Humphrey Leigh. How do you do?
Oh, I'm fine, thanks. Why famous?
I'm sorry?
The garden door. Why famous?
Oh, thank you. There's stories that eminent Victorian gentlemen used it to slip discreetly in and out.
Why? What were they up to?
Whatever men do, or rather did, get up to, in what was said to be London's best and most distinguished brothel.
A brothel? But I've never been in a brothel.
Is that so?
Oh, but that's fantastic.
I'm afraid there are no vacancies. We're no longer trading. Some fresh air, I think.
And was it, Grandmama?
Was it what?
London's best and most distinguished.
My dear boy, I have no idea. Even I am not 100.
Doctor, how is she? Truthfully. I'm more than just a neighbour.
Second cousin, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I asked for names to get in touch with in an emergency. Her son being permanently abroad.
They don't get on.
So I gathered.
I don't know if you care to tell me what her chances are. Confidentially. I'm used to secrets.
Yes, you You were in that particular service, I believe.
She told you that too?
Only after you'd retired, Colonel.
What hope is there?
Well, one can't be sure until one sees the plates. However,
An unpleasant way to die.
there are quite a number of unpleasant ways.
I've seen one or two. I think in her shoes, if the worst came to the worst, I should expect my doctor to ease me out.
Should you now? Well, you wouldn't be the first relative who said that.
I take it you're not the first doctor who's listened. She shouldn't live here alone, with just a daily coming in.
I've told her so a dozen times. She has an independent mind.
And a powerful will.
Oh, very.
She wants the lilies in a vase to remind her.
Of what?
Time's winged chariot or something. Lilies. God, I should have thought.
Oh, don't let it bother you.
It doesn't. It's just that Mister will think I'm such a bird.
Mister?
Loseby. Vase is in the pantry. Now, where's the pantry?
Through that door, first on the left.
Thanks.
Was that the telephone?
It's next door, Madge. Excuse me, Colonel.
Can I ask you something?
By all means.
Well, you're a sort of relative, aren't you?
Yes.
And you've known Mister for years. Well, what I want to know is, am I doing it all wrong? You see, I've been sleeping with him since we met.
Oh, yes?
It's not lust. Pure and simple joy and pleasure. I seem to have an endless capacity for sex.
That must be exhausting.
No, but it's a fearful bore. I do like Mister. I mean, really like him, not just bed. It's just possible it could be serious. That would be a laugh. There's more to Mister than appears, you know, or perhaps you don't. He's not just army, he gets bored easily, and he has a temper uncontrollable at times. I'll have to watch it. Watch her, too, while she's still with us. She disapproves of me. I can't think why. We've lots in common. She was a goer in her day, wasn't she?
Well, again, I'm hardly qualified.
Well, I am. It takes one to know one.
What do you think?
She's charming, articulate.
Oh, come on, Humph.
Is it serious?
You know me.
Do I?
No, of course it's not serious. She lives just round the corner. It's convenient.
That's all there is.
You'll be relieved to hear.
I didn't say so.
You didn't have to. I suppose it's all UP with Grandmama. It's a bloody shame. Another bit of old England down the plug hole. Not everyone will weep, of course. All the same.
You came over specially?
No. We're playing a team from Brazil tomorrow on Smith's lawn. And I had to see her, didn't I? Just once more. In Father's unlamented absence, I shall miss her.
Yes.
Oh, where shall I put them? Here, or is it too crowded?
Fine.
Or would here be better? Oh, no, that's got flowers on it.
Doesn't
as well.
matter.
Why no? How about here?
So put the bloody things anywhere you bloody like. It couldn't matter bloody less. Yeah? I'll get him.
Ralph, take it on the landing.
Yes, all right.
Humphrey,
Dr. Perryman?
close the door.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Loseby, please put down that receiver. Yesterday, I went to Henley. I've always adored the regatta. It's so absurdly English. The band of the Grenadiers pumping out the yeomen of the Guard under a blue and white striped awning. Men with that ferocious red complexion you only see in one of Turner's most abandoned sunsets. Youths in flannels and multicolored blazers. I wonder if someone would be kind enough to give me a small brandy.
Yes, Grandma.
Thank you. Where was I?
Blazers at Henley.
There's something reassuring about a blazer. Now then, Ralph, out with it. We all know what you have to tell us.
No, you don't. It's all right. You're all right.
What was that you said?
They can't find anything. No sign at all. You're in the clear.
But are you certain?
The report is unequivocal. There's no clinical doubt whatever.
How extraordinary. I have the most powerful premonition.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Congratulations.
Nothing to do with me.
Careful. Careful, dear boy. Having only just been reprieved, I prefer not to be asphyxiated. Where are you going?
Off license for a bottle of the Widow. 6 bottles of the Widow. Go on, Sue.
Coming. It seems excessive just for surviving. Still, I suppose it's not every day that death taps one on the shoulder and then decides he's made a mistake.
Rather short of the ready mess bills. Can I stick it on your account?
I have no account, dear boy. You know I always pay cash.
In that case, if someone could see their way clear to just...
Yes,
No. Here.
I say, that won't push the boat out very far.
1 bottle will do nicely.
Come on, mister.
Well, for once I'm not entirely sure what to say. Yes, I am. My very good health.
Where?
In the alcove.
The sweet, corrupt smell of a dead body in a heat wave.
Sorry, sir.
Who found her, Chief Inspector?
The Daily woman. Maria Constantina Caterina Pereira.
Portuguese?
Spanish.
And who called station?
A neighbour, some sort of cousin. He's downstairs drinking coffee. I'm doing the Times crossword, sir.
Cool.
How about you, sir?
Oh, I do my best not to get excited, Sergeant.
No, sir. Coffee.
Would be very welcome.
Sir.
Anyone else in the house?
No. Not a pretty sight.
No. She was, though, in her day. That portraits of her, I suppose.
Society between the wars?
Oh, between, during, and after. She got quite a figure in the little world. And there was some public work later. President of the Conservative Women's Association, 59 to 63, Anglo-Austrian Society, Cardiac Research Trust.
You knew her?
No, I looked her up in Who's Who.
Who's who? Oh, yes.
Calling the yard in wasn't my idea, Chief Inspector.
All mine, Chief Superintendent. We could have handled this perfectly well locally.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a moment. No, I'm as reluctant to be here as you are to have me. I was clearing my desk.
Yes. I heard you were handling over the murder squad. Reasons of health?
I'll be all right out of London.
Your last case, then?
Hopefully.
I take it you'll be operating out of Gerald Road.
We'll try not to tread on your toes too much.
Sorry I'm late, Frank.
We always are.
Bloody traffic. I suppose everyone's made a mess of things as usual.
Oh, yes, sir. Prints and traces are all over the place. Professor Morgan, Home Office, Chief Inspector Rees, Gerald Road.
Nothing has been touched, Professor.
And you know Inspector Shingler.
Norman. Professor. Too hot for homicide. Still, I suppose you better get on with it.
She's over there.
Right, where's the thermometer? Had a picture taken, has she?
Not yet, no.
He's coming.
Chief Inspector, perhaps you could hurry up that photographer of yours.
Yes, sir. We are short-staffed, sir. Our regular man's on holiday.
Oh, where did he go?
Costa del Sol.
Hardly worth it, more Sol here. She was young when Rupert Brooke was young. Rupert Brooke, Julian Grenfell, Raymond Asquith, before your time, Norman.
Just a week or two, sir.
Part of an England long since dead.
Maggots are hard at it. Right, first name?
Madge Marnie.
Right. Ashbrook, Madge Hermione, deceased. Cadaver on floor of alcove. Alcove adjoins living room. Blood on carpet, not too much, like someone spilled half a glass of Beaujolais. Eyes open, fixed, staring, skirt up over knees. Very good legs for What, 75?
80.
She kept her figure. Age 80. Along top of head, bisecting forehead and projecting 8 or 9 inches outwards, a hammer. Claws of hammer penetrated skull and brain. Looks like a new form of hat, doesn't it? Create quite a stir at Ascot, that would. Maggots in residence, probably first and second generation larvae. 2 blows to the head, second would have killed her if she hadn't been dead already. It's as far as I can go until we get her
dead
up.
already?
My God, why aren't you coppers given a course in medicine? Well, look at her face, man. The spots on the cheek and neck, the eyelids.
Strangled.
Almost certainly from behind. It was a bit of a struggle, a couple of bruises. I shall want the usual holiday snaps.
But the hammer claws in the skull.
Done after death.
How long after?
Hard to say. Not a lot of blood. Could be soon, even very soon after.
Someone in a frenzy?
Well, that's your department.
And it happened where she's lying now. She wasn't moved after death.
From the blood on the deck, it doesn't look like it. I'd say whoever did it strangled her, then stove her head in and beetled off.
Jesus.
As you say. Still, 80. She might have managed a few more summers. On the other hand, could have popped off any day.
Not like this.
No, it's a hideous way to go.
Not everyone would choose it. Well, nothing more I can do until I get her onto the slab. Send her over when you've done with her. And don't forget the pretty pictures.
Photographer?
Stuck in a traffic jam.
Oh, time of death.
Oh, I'd say she's been dead about 36 hours, plus or minus 3 or 4.
Today's Monday, that takes us back to Saturday.
Well done.
Evening?
Evening or night. Not before 7, not much after 11. When we get her opened up, we may get a little closer.
It's for you, sir.
Then again, we may not.
Yes.
What was that?
Coffee, sir.
Where's mine?
I did you a favour.
Get her covered up now, please. Oh, and Sergeant, perhaps you could move that screen across the alcove.
Very well, sir.
You, what's your name?
Maria Constantina Caterina Ferreira.
Oh, please sit down.
Gracias.
Thank you, Sergeant. Now, it was you who found Lady Ashbrook.
Si.
What time was that?
I tell this man.
Tell me.
I come to work 7:30.
7:30? That's an early start.
How I live. How I live without early start. Listen, when I come to this country for 20 years, I have just the one work. One. Okay, fine. Money is enough. Today, how many work I have? 4. 4 work I have today. And still not enough money. What happened to money, please?
It's a long story.
It's disaster.
You could always go back to Spain.
España, disaster too. You know what I say? Bring back Franco.
That could be difficult. Maria, when you arrived this morning, was everything downstairs in order?
To begin, same as ever everything, except... No, is nothing.
What is nothing?
Garden door. Always my lady lock at night. Today, garden door is open. I think my lady forget to shut, I shut.
You didn't tell me that.
You didn't ask?
Chief Inspector, perhaps you'll be good enough to have a look,
Oh,
please.
that prince will be all over it.
Norman, go with him.
Sir.
Oh, Sergeant, I want to see that cousin, please.
Yes, sir.
Now, so you shut the garden door, and then?
Put on kettle, come up here.
Why?
To open curtain, open window, everywhere hot like oven. Then, I think I faint, I am strong, I no faint, I telephone.
But not the police, why not?
English, my English very bad.
After 20 years?
Ever you go to Spain?
Many times.
How good your Spanish?
So you rang Lady Ashbrook's cousin?
Is English gentleman, Mr. Leigh, very peace, very calm, not many left.
Leigh. Christian name?
Maybe Christian, maybe not, is good man.
This way, sir.
Morning, Frank.
Humphrey! Well, I'm damned.
I'm glad it's you, they said.
Oh, it's good to see you. Just a minute. You didn't ask for me by any chance.
I may have dipped a toe in the water.
Why?
It seemed to me the case called for someone not entirely stupid.
Thank you.
Not at all.
Maria, just one more
do you
question.
want me to go?
No. Maria, was anything missing from the house?
Is some silver gone, silver dishes, dining room small, beautiful, me gusto mucho.
You like?
Very nice, very pretty. Now you think Maria thief?
Not at all. No.
Never, I steal, never.
You can go now, Maria. Thank you very much.
Nunca, I show you my
Sergeant, will
reference.
you look after her?
This way. This way.
Well. Sorry, I can't offer you a drink.
I don't. Not anymore.
What, doctor's orders?
Oh, good God, no. One day I just decided not to. It was a challenge.
And that you never could resist, could you? Oh, I don't believe it, because in Cyprus you could put us all to bed. Turks, Cypriots, Macarius himself if necessary, and still be first down for breakfast.
It's a long time since Cyprus, Frank. You were just a chubby young copper then. Bright, but chubby.
Bright enough to use the best intelligence officer on the island, and the most unscrupulous.
War's unfair in love and war.
No, you haven't changed.
And you, still playing it straight down the line?
You make scruples sound like a misdemeanor. Listen, this is your backyard. I mean, you know these people. So what do you make of it?
A burglar who went berserk?
How it looks?
Or how it's meant to look. Do burglars carry hammers? Possible? I'd have thought unlikely.
Did you like her?
I think more than she liked me. We used to bicker about politics in the 30s, Spain, you know. She never quite trusted me since.
You were relatives?
Distant cousins.
Oh, so you're not her next of kin?
No. There's a son. He lives in Morocco. He's not been back for years. She didn't care for him. He drinks.
Husband?
Died some years ago. Permanent under-secretary. Rather less permanent than anticipated. One day he just collapsed over his desk in Whitehall.
The perfect exit for a civil servant.
In his case, less than elegantly timed. His pension wasn't index-linked.
But they hadn't thought that up yet?
No. It coloured her attitude to money. She became...
parsimonious?
Cautious.
But who is she close to? Anybody really close?
Her grandson.
And he to her?
To all appearances, he was over here a fortnight ago, playing polo.
Over here from where?
Germany. He's a captain in the lifeguards.
Photographer, sir. Yes, come in. Simon, get on to the Ministry of Defence, will you? Tell them I want to speak to a Captain...
Loseby.
Loseby of the...
Lifeguards.
Lifeguards. British Army, Northwest Europe. Top priority short of war. And get the MOD through the yard.
Sir. Same as usual? Room first, then body?
No, the body first, please, and then the garden door, and then this room.
Will do.
Yes, cautious in what way?
She never used a checkbook. Everyone was paid in cash. She kept it in the top of the desk.
It's an open invitation to theft.
She recorded the number of each note in a notebook.
Oh, there's nothing here. Oh. What's this, a toolbox? In a drawing room?
She had everything to hand in here. It was the hub of her life, this room.
Yes, but a toolbox? Surely if some odd job needed doing, she could send for a carpenter or a plumber.
Plumbers and carpenters cost money. An old woman's harmless eccentricity.
Not so harmless. There's no hammer.
Well, that's how he got in, all right. Through the garden door, the lock's been forced.
A professional job?
I'd say a minor villain who knew what he was up to.
Norman?
No locksmith, but no casual thug. Someone handy with a knife.
Right. Right, let's move it. Yes, I'll be operating out of Gerald Road, Chief Inspector, so get back there fast, if you'll be so kind, and set up a murder room. There's detailed maps of the district, filing cabinets, blackboard, and every CID man you can muster. So I want a house-to-house blitz on friends, acquaintances, anybody who ever knew the old lady. It'll probably mean half Belgravia and Chelsea. Now, in addition, I want sightings of anyone out and about this area on Saturday between 7 p.m. and midnight. I don't care if it's the mayor or the Archbishop of Canterbury, or the fire brigade. Someone must have seen someone. Any questions?
No, sir.
Then don't let me keep you, Chief Inspector.
Very good, sir.
Norman, will you call a press conference, please, for tomorrow afternoon? Because if we don't give them something to bite on, they'll speculate.
They'll do that anyway.
Oh, yes, and find out about her will, who gets the money. If it turns out to be Humphrey here, that could be interesting. Especially if he can't account for his movements on Saturday night.
I was at home.
Alone?
Yes, reading and watching television.
What was on?
It didn't register. It seldom does.
Quite impossible to prove.
Oh, quite.
What are you waiting for, Norman?
Oh, sorry, sir.
Briers. Good morning. Who am I speaking to? Yes, I am asking urgently for Captain Loseby. I see. You're positive there's no mistake. Yes, I would like that very much. I have it. Thank you. Yes, and you have a nice day, too. It's a charming girl, presumably with American connections. No, Captain Loseby is not with his regiment at the moment. He's in London on compassionate leave. He flew home 3 days ago when his grandmother was taken ill.
Taken ill? But Frank, I saw her 3 days ago and she was as right as rain.
Would I like the London address where he's staying? Yes, I would. This address. Maria! Oh, Sergeant, would you ask Maria, What's the name to come up here, please?
Certainly, sir. Right. Garden door?
Yes, please.
Miss Briers, sir.
Maria, Lady Ashbrook's grandson, is he staying here?
Was.
When?
Before 2 weeks.
Has he been here since?
No.
For example, this weekend?
No.
You're absolutely sure?
So, now Maria tell the lie.
Have you any idea where he is?
Of course Maria know where he is.
Well, perhaps you'd be good enough to tell us.
He's in Germany with British Army. Entiende?
For God's sake, tell this idiot who I am.
Lady Ashbrook's grandson, Captain Loseby.
It's all right, Sergeant. Maria. Sorry about that. Briers, Murder Squad, Scotland Yard.
Where is she?
The alcove.
It's unfair. It's so bloody unfair. She was told there was nothing wrong with her just 2 weeks. Now this.
How did you know?
Porter at my club.
Which club?
The In and Out. Heard it on the radio. I need a drink.
No, sorry. Nothing in this room is to be touched.
Would you mind immensely if I use the phone?
Yes.
Look, whose house is this?
I don't know.
What?
At this moment, I can't say because I don't know the contents of her will. Why are you in London, Captain, this weekend? You were here 2 weekends ago to play polo, but why now?
I suppose I'd better come clean.
I would recommend it strongly.
The thing is, my dear, I needed a spot of relaxation, you understand, so I got a few days' leave. My grandmother's health wasn't ideal. Well, I don't have to tell you, it's the classical excuse.
But you didn't see her, you didn't visit her at all?
I did ring up.
When?
Saturday afternoon.
What time Saturday?
About 1600 hours.
More precisely?
Between 4 and 4:15. Sorry, it's the best I can do.
And how was she?
She said she was fine.
And where were you?
Not too far away.
Where were you, Captain Loseby?
I'd rather not say. Tucked up, somewhere comfortable.
With a woman.
You said it, I didn't.
Is that the truth?
Do you want me to swear to it on the Bible?
No, you'd do that if you were lying in your teeth.
Whose side are you on?
Your grandmother's.
All right, yes, it's the truth. I'm not saying where it was exactly because it involves somebody else. Will that do, Humphrey?
Almost certainly not.
Well, you'll have to make a statement and sign it and then we can check it out.
You're a suspicious devil.
It's my business. Oh, by the way, the will, do you know what's in it?
I haven't the foggiest. Listen, where do wills come in? I mean, this was obviously some sort of hooligan on the rampage, well, wasn't it?
All right, you can go now. Don't leave London.
But you back on duty?
Well, then we'll arrange compassionate leave. And this time it'll be genuine.
Whoever did it, you will get him.
Oh, yes. You can count on that. Him or her. Her? You'll be surprised what power ungovernable rage can give a person. Where will you be staying?
At the club, I suppose.
Oh, not here.
I've no wish to set foot in this house ever again.
It disturbs you that much, does it?
Good God, man, would you want to stay in a house where someone you cared for had been murdered?
Oh. What an interesting idea. Hadn't occurred to me. Did it to you?
No.
Sorry to disturb you, Chief Inspector. There's been a change of plan. I want the murder room set up here, at the scene of the crime. Yes, it is, but the house will be unoccupied until the will is published, and after all, this is the murder room, isn't it? Right, Doctor, if you just sign your statement.
There, sir.
Well, thank you. You've helped us considerably.
I'm not entirely sure how.
Well, by narrowing the time still further, because we now know that she was fit and well when you left that evening. In fact, you're almost certainly the last person to have seen her alive.
Except for whoever took her life.
Except for whoever killed her, yes. Can I offer you a scotch?
No, thank you. I still have several calls to make.
Oh, it's bad, is it, if your patients know you had a drink?
Well, it's not so much the knowledge as the smell. It makes them nervous. The blackboard and the map. I take it all this detail means you're making progress.
Oh, well, it depends what you mean by progress. We've unearthed more of the criminal population of southwest London than you dream existed. But if you mean, are we any nearer knowing who killed Lady Ashbrook? No, I'm afraid we're not.
But you're convinced, are you? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that whoever did this ghastly thing was a stranger, some sort of criminal intruder?
No, I'm not convinced of that.
Ah, no. No more am I. Well, and of course I'm a total ignoramus in police matters, but speaking as a medical man, when I saw her lying in the mortuary and later during the autopsy, it seemed to me... Well, I really have no right to express a view, but if a burglar was responsible, wouldn't there have been more indication of a struggle? I couldn't help the rather obvious reflection that she might have been killed by, well, someone she knew.
You mean someone doing his best to behave like a burglar?
Well, the thought crept up my back. Or am I talking nonsense?
No, it crept up my back, too.
And then all these conscientious inquiries are simply a cover, are they? I mean, you're actually looking rather nearer home.
Well, we haven't ruled out the possibility of a professional. At the same time, after years of doing this sort of work, one develops certain antennae.
And yours are telling you what mine are telling me?
Well, you get a feeling in the fingers. Oh, by the way, whoever murdered Lady Ashbrook either wore gloves or wiped away his prints. There wasn't a fingerprint in the house we can't account for.
What about the footprints?
No, none. He may even have gone out through the garden in his stocking feet.
That's interesting. So if he wasn't a professional, he behaved like one in all respects.
Not quite all. Oh, £300 in cash gone, some silver dishes stolen, that's professional enough. He didn't need to beat her head in, though. That's not professional.
The horror of it. One can't help feeling that when we abolished capital punishment, we made a serious mistake.
Oh, you're a hanger, are you, Doctor?
Hanging? No. Too many sexual connotations. But I believe in getting rid of certain kinds of criminals. Shooting, if you like. A terminal drug, the least messy method we can find.
You don't feel it would be a throwback, that it would make society even less civilized than it is?
It's a profound need of society to take its revenge on those who offend its deepest instincts.
You see, I've had to deal with some child murders. Beyond description. And if I'd caught the people who did them and thought I could get away with it, I'd have shot them without thinking twice. I might even have done the same to whoever killed this old lady. But I wouldn't string him up or go through any other sort of ritual execution. Have you ever heard the noise in a prison when someone was about to be executed? I did once when I was just starting in the force. Well, it might change your mind.
I doubt it. You see, you're trying to keep life hygienic in a world becoming daily more violent, more toxic. You have to find a way of balancing the books.
Well, an eye for an eye.
2 eyes, perhaps. For one. I must go.
Yes. In a moment. Well, thank you for your time, Doctor, and your statement. I've enjoyed our conversation. We must talk again.
With pleasure.
Oh, by the way, about those stolen notes. As I'm sure you know, she kept a record of each number in her notebook. It was in a locked drawer in her bedroom. Well, we've dug into every shop in the metropolitan area, and not one that was on her desk that night has turned up. But 2 £10 notes that she used to pay a bill about a year ago have surfaced in a newsagent's in Pimlico, and quite naturally in the normal way of business. Well, you buy your papers there, don't you, at Barlow's? And you often pay in notes. Huh?
I should have mentioned this before. Yes, I did let her pay me in currency, and I took a fraction off the bill as a quid pro quo. It's a not uncommon practice nowadays. Will the Yard feel obliged to make a signal to the Inland Revenue?
Oh, I shouldn't think so, no. We've rather more important things on our plate. After all, the sum involved must be fairly modest.
Marginal.
Oh, well, I doubt if you'll hear any more about it.
Well, thank you. It would be unfortunate if it got around. A doctor, expected to be like Caesar's wife and so forth. And I'm told the penalties are no joke nowadays. I'm not a rich man.
No?
No, I've never made the money that I could have.
Oh, why was that, Doctor?
Oh, you don't want to hear about all that?
No, I do. I'm very interested.
Well, any competent physician can get success as a consultant, and any man a class better can make his mark on what they call research. I wanted something better. I wanted to satisfy myself. In the long run, that's all that matters. It may sound strange, but I didn't want to make medicine just a shade more scientific. I wanted to make it a good deal less so.
In what way?
Well, for example, what do we mean when we talk about the mind, or the spirit, or the will? How does the mind affect the body, and vice versa? Until we know the answers to those sort of questions, we know nothing.
Right, Norman. Is Thirkill here yet?
No, but Colonel Leigh is.
Oh, good, I want him.
I think you'd better read this first. I thought you should know. That is, if you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Sir, I realise you're old friends. How much have you taken him into your confidence?
I've been telling him as much or as little as I wanted him to know.
Does that mean you've ruled him out?
I'll tell you precisely what it means, Norman. It means that I'm watching him from the closest possible vantage point. I don't like it, but I'm doing it. Now, of course, I haven't ruled him out. I haven't ruled anybody out, anybody at all.
Fair enough.
Send in Colonel Leigh, please. Thank you, Norman. And, thank you for this.
Sir.
Oh, and as soon as that young girl arrives, will you wheel her in? Come in, Humphrey.
Solved it yet, sir?
No. Have you?
I meant the crossword, sir.
Oh, well, I'm stuck at 13 across. Dyspeptic gathering, more than likely. 2 words.
Livery company?
Why, yes. Well, thank you, Inspector.
My pleasure.
Well, that was bright.
I run a bright department. Tell me, what do you know about, Dr. Perryman?
Not a lot. Those who do speak highly of him. Why?
He's been working a tax fiddle.
I used to think that most of us were honest about money. Now I sometimes think that none of us is.
Miss Thirkill.
Am I late? I am, aren't I? Terribly sorry, but I only just got out of bed. You know how it is.
Sit down.
Thanks. Golly, you've been busy. Are you getting warmer?
By the minute. You don't mind Colonel Leigh being present, do you? He's helping us with our inquiries.
I say, that usually means... It wasn't you, was it?
No. Sit down, please, Miss Thirkill. No, not there. Come and sit here.
Her chair?
Does it bother you?
Not a scrap. Why should it?
Right, well, go ahead. I'm listening.
What for?
You asked to see me.
Oh, that's right. Listen, you've had Mister in 3 times in as many days, giving him the 3rd, 4th, and 5th degree. It's obvious what you're thinking. Well, you're wrong. It wasn't him. Couldn't possibly have been. Go on, ask me why. Twist my arm. All right, since you insist, I'll tell you. Because he was with me. That's why.
You say Captain Loseby was with you that Saturday evening.
Morning, afternoon, and evening. We were together the entire weekend.
Where?
My place just across the square. Well, don't you see? That's why he wangled leave. To be with me. It's always been good between us. But that weekend, it was the best ever. We really had liftoff.
And you'd be willing, would you, to swear to the truth of what you're saying in a court of law?
I'd happily shout it from the housetops.
You said nothing of this at our first interview.
You hadn't started bullying my boyfriend, had you?
Right, will that be all?
Oh?
Is there any further evidence you'd care to volunteer?
Can't think of a thing. I just wanted to set the record straight. I felt I owed it to Mister. Oh, you won't tell him I told you, will you?
Why not?
Well, he wouldn't want it bandied about. One of his other birds might get to hear.
Oh, I see. So what you just described to us is not an exclusive arrangement.
How do you know? He plays the field. We both do. That's why she didn't care for me.
You disliked her?
Oh, I could live without her. She stood between me and Mister. But I didn't kill her, if that's what you're thinking.
Well, you couldn't have, could you?
I'm stronger than I look, you know.
No, that's not what I meant.
What did you mean?
Merely that if Mister was with you, then you must have been with him. If you're his alibi, he's yours.
Do I need an alibi?
They're always useful.
Have you got one?
No.
Tut, tut. Well, thanks for telling me about mine. If there's anything I can do for you, either of you, anytime. Ciao.
A remarkable offer.
Yes, from a really dedicated little liar.
You think she's lying?
Oh, in detail and in depth. And you don't always come clean either, do you, Humphrey? You didn't happen to mention that Loseby liked boys as well as girls.
Is it relevant?
Well, it could be vital. He's completely changed his story. First it was a girl he was in bed with that night, now it's a young man.
Did he specify?
A brother officer.
Nothing like keeping it in the regiment.
And when I told him we'd checked with his club and he hadn't spent the weekend there, he produced this chap, whose name is Jimson, who duly confirmed this latest version of events.
They could both be lying.
Oh, yes. Everybody could be lying about everything, and no doubt almost everybody is. But I don't know, he seemed genuinely fond of Loseby. And even in this enlightened age, most of us would be unlikely to invent that particular sophistication.
Loseby's a cool customer.
It's also at times a violent one. But I can't for the life of me see why he should want to murder the old lady. Or why anybody else should want to. There seems to be no motive.
Oh, come.
Well, can you think of what?
Several.
For example?
Sex. Old women have been raped before.
Not the vestige of a sign.
Money.
None of you would kill for a few £100 in notes.
There could be more stashed away.
No, we've turned the house inside out.
A beneficiary under the will.
None of you benefit substantially. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to tell you that. I hope it's not a disappointment. No, there is no one with a conceivable motive. With one exception.
Who was that?
You.
Oh, that's an interesting flight of fancy.
No, it's not fancy, it's fact. You're the only one we've got a motive for.
May I hear it?
It's political.
I'm fascinated.
Yes, so was I. When I learnt that when you were up at Cambridge, you were an apostle.
Who dug that up?
Inspector Shingler. Is it true?
Yes. But if I may, to coin a phrase, put it bluntly, not every member of that exclusive Cambridge dining club was a Soviet agent, at the time or subsequent.
Oh, quite. But if you were one of those who was, if you continued to be after you came down, if you still are, and Lady Ashbrook knew and was holding it over you.
Assuming there was anything to hold, how would she know?
Through her husband. Whitehall talks to Whitehall's wives. And at the time of the Burgess and Maclean affair, you were investigated. It's all here, neatly documented. Investigated 3 times.
And 3 times cleared of any connection whatsoever.
Yes, in common with others who were later proved to be traitors.
You should go a long way, your Inspector Shingler.
Was it you?
You haven't cautioned me.
Was it you?
No. But then, as Miss Rice Davis would say, I would say that, wouldn't I?
Look, murder happened in this room. And there is someone moving about, going through the normal workaday routine, which one takes as unthinkingly as breathing. Now, I don't know what's driving him. But I shall find him. Because I want that person more than I've ever wanted anything in my life.
What's driving you?
She sprang from an England very different from the present, the England of my youth. And we said England then, not Britain or the United Kingdom, though that was what we meant. And no Scot, no Irishman or Welshman took offence. Somehow England warmed and embraced us all. Well, I have an unreasoning and almost neurotic regard for that period and that memory. We no longer have an empire, we're not the workshop of the world, and we even have a problem paying our way. But until quite recently, this was still a land of tolerance and gentleness. And now that too is disappearing, like a dream. So, whoever it was, will be smoked out. Smoked out! And brought to justice. She has my word. Yes, sir, that's the score up to last night. For what it's worth, we've covered half London. Well, it may be useful, Commissioner, but it's small stuff. It's chicken feed. And it's not leading anywhere. Well, I still think so, sir. The key is here in this house. Instinct, Commissioner. Yes, sir, I'm getting impatient, too. Oh, that reminds me, how long have we kept her waiting?
An hour.
Oh, good. That should cool her heels. If no other part of her anatomy. Wheel her in, Norman.
You think she'll talk?
No, she'll talk all right. Whether she'll talk anything like the truth is something else again.
Come in.
Hi. Hello, I know. Don't sit there. Sit here. I'm beginning to feel quite at home.
Miss Thirkill, come on to the balcony for a moment, would you?
You're in a funny mood this morning.
You see those flats at the bottom of the garden, the ones facing the mews?
Uh-huh.
Well, a couple living there have just told us that on the night Lady Ashbrook was done to death, there was a girl hanging about the mews when they went out to dinner, and that was about 8:30 that Saturday night. And when they came back, somewhere between 10:30 and 11, the girl was still there, walking about between the mews and the street. They gave us a description of the girl.
Light brown hair, medium height, smartish clothes, trousers, carrying a multicoloured shoulder bag.
Of course, you do realise that could be just about anybody north, or for that matter south, of the Mason-Dixon line.
Technically, yes, it could be just about anybody, but in fact it wasn't, was it? It was you.
Oh, for heaven's sake, how could it be me? I was with Mr. practically the whole weekend, I told you.
In considerable detail.
Well then, I couldn't be with Mr. and walking about the mews at the same time, could I?
We managed to work that out.
You lied to us, miss.
That's not a very nice thing to say.
Miss Thirkill, you have concocted an entirely bogus story about where you were and who you were with that night. You've gone further. You signed a written statement confirming it. Now, that's a very serious offence. Don't you think you'd better consider your position?
I've told you. I was with Mr. and he was with me.
No, he wasn't. He was not with you. We've known for some time who he was with and why.
Who was he with and why?
It doesn't matter. We're satisfied about his movements. That's all you need to know.
All right. I lied. I was only trying to keep Mr.'s nose clean. He was with Dougie Jimson. They were being all boys together, weren't they? Not for the first time. Oh, Mr.'s such an ass. He's not really gay, you know. Not that it would matter if he was. Live and let live. And he's not ambidextrous either. It's just a game with him. Variety, the spice, and so forth. All the same, I must have a little talk with Mr.
Oh, do, by all means, have a little talk with Mr. Meanwhile, perhaps you'd be so good as to have a little talk with us and tell us, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, where the hell you were that night.
I'll tell you this. If it was me in the mews, and I'm not saying it was, I'm not saying it wasn't, but if I was there, waiting about for hours, I couldn't have been in here murdering the old girl, could I?
We managed to work that out, too.
Then why am I here?
You're helping the police with their inquiries, miss.
For the nth time.
If you'd rather not, there's no compulsion.
Listen, I'm on your side.
Yes, I'm not sure whether that makes me feel better or worse.
I do care for you, really I do.
Well, in that case, where were you that night, Miss Thirkill? And what the devil were you up to?
Well, now, let me think. Got it! Saturday night, of course. Now we're getting somewhere.
I do most prayerfully and profoundly hope so.
There's no one in the flats, everybody out of town, the heat. So I decide to call up Mr. in Germany. Surprise, surprise. The duty officer says he's most frightfully sorry, but Mr's on compassionate leave, his grandmother failing fast. So I go rushing round here.
Then you were in this house, this very room, that night?
I'm telling you.
But you've told me so many things, Miss Thirkill.
But this one's true. Oh, for heaven's sakes, don't you want to hear the truth from me?
Never having had that experience, I couldn't say. What time did you get here?
A little after 8.
What happened?
No sign of Mr. and Grandma chirpy as a sparrow. I guess in a flash what he's up to and who with, but I don't want to get him inched up with his granny, so I let it go. We make conversation for a minute or two. The radio's on. Some waltz or other. Strauss, I think. Takes her back to 1066 or whenever she was young. She even dances a few steps. Well, it's not exactly hot gossip, but I've seen worse at Annabelle.
Miss Thirkill, are you making all this up?
Would I do that to you?
Please, Norman.
How long were you here?
3, 4 minutes at the most.
And then?
I say nighty-night, sleep tight, and I'm on my way.
So, you left the house, but you didn't leave the area. You hung around the mews.
I might have done.
Yes or no, was it you in the mews that night?
Are you going to let him bully me?
Answer the question.
It was me, it was me, it was me. There.
Yes. Tell him I won't be long.
Who are you waiting for?
Toby.
Toby who?
Toby Bennett.
Who is Toby Bennett?
One of my exes. He has a flat in the mews. Look, I was mad at Mr. and I had a sudden yen to see Toby again. But when he's working, he doesn't get home until the small hours. He plays a synthesizer in a nightclub, so I waited.
And when he'd finished playing his synthesizer, did he turn up?
No. He was up to here at Hammersmith with Samantha. But I didn't know that, did I?
How long did you wait out there?
Until about 4.
Nearly 8 hours.
When I really want something, I can wait for it. Finally, I gave up and went and had a coffee at the all-night stall at Hyde Park Corner.
And between approximately 8:30 p.m. and 4 a.m., did you see anyone enter or leave this house?
Not a soul. Well, they couldn't have unless they came down the chimney.
Now, look, miss. You can't have stood in one place with a view of 2 doors to the house for 8 whole hours without moving.
I didn't say I didn't move. Of course I moved. I walked up and down, up and down. All I needed was a poodle. But if anyone had gone in or out of here, I didn't know.
You want to try another round?
Hello,
I apologise.
darling. Had a good day.
If you've been putting Susie through the ringer, I'll make damn sure...
No, they've been absolutely sweet. He's so protective. I've been telling them our news, darling, and how you're going to make the best husband a girl ever had.
Husband?
Oh, didn't I get round to it? I was just about to.
You're married?
No, engaged.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Everyone's delighted, aren't they, darling? Oh, especially Mummy and Daddy. They worry about me.
Yes, one can understand.
What does that mean?
We have our eye on a rented house in Radnor Walk. We're hoping to buy, aren't we, darling, when Mr. gets his next little instalment from the controller. Well, if you're all through with me... Well, if there's nothing more you want to ask me...
No, you mentioned the controller.
Did I? Oh, I expect I was just fantasizing.
No, you weren't. You were talking clearly and convincingly for once. Now, we're already interested in that operation. Who and what is the controller?
A family joke.
The name for money coming out of the blue.
Providence.
God.
The controller.
It's a name Mister used to call his grandmother when she gave him a large dip.
You're lying again.
Who is the controller?
I haven't a notion.
You're saying that money reaches you, and you've no idea under heaven where it comes from?
Exactly.
You expect me to believe that?
I don't give a damn whether you believe it or
Well,
not.
of course you know where it comes from. Or if you don't, you can make an educated guess.
It must come somehow from my grandmother. That's all I know.
And I don't even know that much, which suits me nicely. I don't think a girl ought to be too inquisitive about her husband's source of income. I don't think it's a wife's place. Do you? Come along, Lozenge. We're leaving. We'll send you an invitation to the wedding. I do hope you'll come. Both of you. All of you.
Christ, I'd rather have half a dozen teeth out. You know, she doesn't even lie for a purpose. She just does it for the sheer bloody beauty of it.
Wedding bells. I give it a month.
Well, there, oddly enough, you could be wrong, Norman. Today's impossibles often turn out to be tomorrow's solid citizens.
Not Thirkill. She'll be in and out of her four-poster with Tom, Dick and Harry. In and out, in and out.
Just a minute. She was waiting in the mews from 8:30 until about 4 o'clock the following morning. When I asked if in all that time she saw anybody go in or out of the house, she said, not a soul.
She can't possibly know that for certain.
But suppose it's true. Send in Colonel Leigh, please. And Norman, I want him alone.
Is that a very good idea, sir?
Alone.
Good morning, sir.
I realise I'm no longer persona grata.
I thought you'd like to know that I know the way it was done.
You know how?
Oh, yes.
And who?
It's narrowing down.
You're getting close?
Very.
Do you want to tell me?
No, you tell me. What am I looking for?
You're looking for a man who knows how to keep his cool under pressure. A man out of the common rut.
Yes.
Not a professional villain, but a man professionally trained. Someone to whom death, even violent death, is no stranger.
Go on.
There are 3 candidates. If Loseby is ruled out,
he's out.
You're left with 2, of whom I'm obviously one. Counterproductive to remind you it was I who asked for your assignment to this case. As you rightly pointed out, I never could resist a challenge, and if I'm the man you're looking for, such a challenge could be irresistible. Also, that young protege of yours, damn his fertile, probing mind, is to be believed I could have a motive, however convoluted and bizarre. Am I reading you?
With precision.
I may or may not have murdered Cousin Madge. The fact that I deny it is to be expected. In your shoes, I'd keep an open mind.
Oh, my mind is open.
You'd disappoint me if it wasn't. In which case, you're left with a choice between me and the only other possibility. Either way, you're also left with the trifling inconvenience of having to make it stick in law with the evidence available. If, as I suspect, is thin, bloody thin, you'll have to break him, won't you, whichever of us it is. You're rather good at that, as I recall. If he doesn't break, there's not a great deal you could do about it, is there?
Sit down, Humphrey.
I think you know the way.
Yes, indeed.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good evening, Chief Superintendent. The room's almost back to normal. Coming to the end of your investigation.
Well, there are still 1 or 2 things we'd like to clear up. We thought you might be able to help us further.
I doubt that, but I'll do my best.
Sit down, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so... why don't we start with Lady Ashbrook's standard of living, 'cause it's something of a puzzle.
In what way, precisely?
Well, how she managed to live like this on her income. You see, she had a trifle from investments in this country, an annuity of £1,500, and her old age pension. And out of that she had to pay rates, heating, lighting, daily woman. She wasn't extravagant, but she still bought good clothes, and a smart hairdresser came to the house once a week. So the question is, where did the money come from?
Well, I know nothing of any details. As her doctor, I often advised her to have someone permanently in the house, but she always said she couldn't afford it.
Well, on the face of it, she was right. You see, we just couldn't understand how she managed financially, especially after her will, her very modest will, was published. You see, Doctor, her day-to-day expenses and her apparently limited means, they simply didn't balance out. Until, that is, we managed to unearth the truth about the American fund.
The American fund?
Yes, you know, Doctor, the controller fund. Because that's how she paid her bills, with money which came over from the States at regular intervals.
Oh, that's most interesting. And, of course, it would explain the discrepancy between her way of life and the apparent lack of means to support it.
It would. It does.
This one-way traffic, has it continued after her death?
Oh, yes. A sizable sum has been passed to her grandson. Our information is passed by you, Doctor.
By me?
Yes. You were the controller, weren't you, Doctor?
The what?
The controller. As in controller of the royal household. The word must have appealed to the old lady's social instincts.
If I were your doctor, I should want to have those lungs of yours examined. Regularly.
But you're not my doctor, are you, Doctor? Yes, we know that you passed money to the old lady during her lifetime and after her death to others. We know that the money came from a firm of lawyers in New York, one of whom had been an intimate friend of your patient's in her younger days. And we believe that when the money arrived here, it was collected by you, Lady Ashbrook being at first too conspicuous and ultimately too old to do so for herself. It was an ingenious method of avoiding tax while she was alive and death duties when she wasn't. Oh, yes, and the money was, in fact, interest from her late husband's American securities, plus slices of capital which had been allowed to decline. Shall I go on?
It was a benevolent service, done to help an old friend, old in every sense, to end her days in something approaching the manner to which she was accustomed.
Yes, all right, all right. Let's drop all this. We shouldn't be spending our time on a minor piece of tax evasion.
What should we be spending our time on?
Murder. It's the murder we want to ask you about, Doctor.
By all means.
You were in this house the night Lady Ashbrook died.
For approximately half an hour.
Uninvited, on your own initiative.
Am I to be charged with breaking and entering?
Oh, no. You didn't break in, Doctor. 3 people, besides the old lady, had a key. The daily woman, but she was at a Spanish party that particular night. Her grandson, who was holding a rather more individual party of his own, and you. You had your own front door key, Doctor.
Well, naturally, I was her physician. She was old. I had to be able to enter in an emergency.
And of course, being her physician put you in a rather special category, didn't it?
I'm not sure that I follow you.
Well, if it's a question of killing an old lady, her doctor has certain advantages. She's used to him. She's used to his hands. Yes. You have good hands, Doctor, sensitive hands, a surgeon's hands.
Well, it is my profession.
And there'd be other advantages. You'd know exactly where to place those hands. And there'd be no fingerprints anywhere because a doctor would have surgical gloves readily available.
If you should take to murder Chief Superintendent Society, I'd better watch out.
One thing. Why smash her skull in? Was it in a fit of madness? Or was it the final touch in your attempt to make it look like an outside job? A professional villain who broke in and went berserk. The garden door forced with a scalpel, was it? The silver dishes stolen from the dining room. The controlled mayhem in this room. Oh, yes, by the way, a little too controlled, Doctor. You should have left the desk drawer open. Villains don't tidy up after them.
Chief Superintendent, I do have a number of patients.
Sit down, Doctor. In the summer, you thought that the old lady was about to die.
My clinical judgment was that it was rather more probable than not.
But your clinical judgment turned out to be wrong.
It happens to the best of us.
If your judgment had been right, Lady Ashbrook would have been dead by now from natural causes.
Yes.
But since your judgment didn't prove right, she might have lived for years.
She could have done.
Must have been a shock to learn she was going to survive.
It was a profound relief.
Was it? She was old, she'd grown increasingly demanding, a drain on your energies, as the old inevitably are. And the prospect of it going on and on when you thought your release was coming, the temptation to put an end to it when nature unexpectedly declined to oblige, was that the moment of decision, Doctor?
I should like to make a statement. No, not that kind of statement, Inspector. I have work to do. This is a serious interference. It might be more than that for some of my patients. If you continue to detain me, I shall be obliged to ask for legal advice.
Oh, please, call your solicitor if you wish. In that case, you believed that your patient's hospital tests would be positive.
I thought it possible.
Probable. You said probable.
All right, probable. Your patient believed she might be terminally ill.
She appeared to be in an extreme situation. Then we heard the news from the laboratory. The extreme situation ceased to exist.
And her dependence on you ceased with it.
I don't know why. I was still her doctor.
You were a hell of a lot more than that, weren't you? It isn't every doctor manages his patient's money.
I thought we'd finished with that business.
If she died of natural causes, you would have been in control of the American fund. Now, when you realised that she wasn't going to die, was that when you decided, forget about euthanasia, I'm going to cave the old bitch's head in?
Now, this is outrageous. Brutal murders are an outrage. To society, to decency, to ordinary human feeling. They degrade and debase those who commit them, and if we're not bloody careful, they do the same to us, who try to bring the murderers to justice. Sit down, Doctor.
You're a violent man, Chief Superintendent. You have violence in you.
The American fund. You realise we have the facts?
I'm not prepared to answer questions from this officer.
Why? Because you're scared? Scared to bloody death? Scared you'd incriminate yourself? Why else would you refuse to talk, eh?
Norman.
Sir.
Why did you kill her, Doctor? It can't just have been the money. There wasn't enough to motivate a doctor with a successful practice. Were you testing yourself to the limit? Or was it that after a lifetime of caring for people, the desire to break with the past, to destroy, to turn your world upside down, became on a sudden overwhelming? Like a priest whose life has been given to God, finding himself irresistibly drawn to the devil. Let me tell you what I think you did. Let's go back to that Saturday night. You didn't call here in the early evening, as you said in your statement. Susan Thirkill had been prowling the mews for hours on the watch for someone else, and she didn't see a glimpse of anyone coming in or going out, not the slightest sign. So you must have been here from the middle or late afternoon until the small hours, and we think you waited unseen upstairs in a bedroom. Must have been a shock to hear the bell ring at about 8 and Susan Thirkill coming up the stairs, but she went away. Had she stayed, still you waited, while the shadows lengthened on the lawn, and you psyched yourself up for what you had to do. And then at last, when you were ready in your mind, you came quietly, very quietly, down the stairs.
Who's there? Who's there? Is someone there? Oh, it's you, Ralph. I didn't hear the front door.
Did I alarm you?
I'm not easily alarmed. But there are those who are. You should make more noise when entering a house. Come in, come in.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Yes, but it doesn't matter. I was just playing the Kaiserwalzer on the gramophone. Well, I refused to say record player. Such a functional expression. A particularly fine performance by the Vienna Philharmonic. You're familiar with it, of course?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing. Only the Viennese know how to play Johann Strauss. Richard is another matter. At once more difficult and much easier. Help yourself. Or do you still have calls to make?
You're my last.
Oh? I didn't send for you. Is this an official visit?
No.
Ah, that's all right then. I'm always pleased to see you, but less so when I'm paying for the pleasure.
What will you have?
Nothing. I've only just had supper. Not that I'm hungry in this heat.
It's cooler as the darkness closes in.
I don't particularly care for the darkness.
Really? I rather like it. But I'm interrupting your music.
Oh, no. Music's company. And for some reason I felt nervy tonight, but I don't need it now you're here. Oh, bother. This wretched pickup is always coming loose.
There should always be someone here, Madge. In times like these, you should have a housekeeper or a companion living in.
So you said repeatedly. I can't afford it. Oh, pass me that toolbox under the desk.
Or buy a new machine.
I can't afford that either. There's a small screwdriver here somewhere. You know, it's curious. When I was young, I was helpless with my hands, but in my old age, you know, I'm quite a whiz at do-it-yourself. Ah, there, that should fix it. You know, if one had a choice when to be alive, Vienna and her heyday would be mine. Doesn't that strike you as the perfect time?
With no antibiotics, no penicillin, no sulfonamides.
No proper dentures, I know. They say the drains were dreadful, too. Oh, but the music. That lives on. That's all that matters, to live on.
I brought you these.
What are they?
Vitamins. Here, try a couple.
My dear man, I don't need pills, not now. Thanks to you, you gave me a whole new lease of life.
I?
When you insisted that I take those tests, the result, the lifting of the shadow, suddenly all was changed.
Can't I persuade you? It will be easier this way.
Easier?
To regain your health.
But I never felt better. What time do you have?
9:16.
Ah, that's all right then. We've still got a few minutes.
For what?
I've got a date. Directly after the news.
A date? Here?
Certainly. I danced with a man who danced with a girl who danced with the Prince of Wales. Now, don't look so alarmed. They're doing a rerun of the Edward and Mrs. Simpson serial on television. I never miss it. You know, I danced with that handsome creature on more than one occasion. He was a charmer, if ever there was one. And so were you, Ralph. So were you. Listen. Nightingales aren't confined to Berkeley Square. I've never known you to take more than one before.
It's been a difficult day. I lost a patient. A simple gastrectomy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She came to just before the end. The look of astonishment on her face.
Well, everyone lives with a certain prospect of death, but no one believes it will happen to them.
One of the respects in which existence is merciful.
Yes. By the way, Ralph, I've made you my executor. Not that I aim to be troubling you for years. The way I feel tonight, I may well go for my century.
In that case, you won't want to catch cold.
In the seat. I like the air, what there is of it. Leave the windows open, please. Ralph, did you hear what I said?
Yes, I heard. As your medical advisor, I'm afraid I must insist that you take proper care of yourself. Drafts can be dangerous. Madge, did you know there's a statue of Newton in one of the Cambridge colleges? Trinity, I think it is, with the inscription, Qui genus humanum ingenio superavit, who surpassed the entire human race with his genius. Few of us can do that. But not to be part of the common herd, that we can aspire to. That we can achieve.
Ralph, I think you'd better go now, and if you're thinking of driving...
Do you ever drive, Madge? A fast car? Really fast?
Not myself. There were no lack of young men willing to drive me as fast as I cared to go.
Ah, and that was fast, wasn't it? Yes. You're that sort of person. You were scared, were you?
Not in the least.
No. No, you wouldn't be. Fear has no more place in your make-up than it has in mine. I've just been reading Rebecca West on the mind of murder. Fascinating. But she's wrong in one particular. He who thinks of murder objectively is dead in the most important part of it. Dead? No, not dead. He who thinks of murder objectively not only dares to drive the mind to the brink and over, he must surely be intensely, uniquely alive.
Ralph, you...
May we have the music on?
You really are talking nonsense.
Shh. Why?
I would like you to go now.
No, Madge. No. Listen to the music. Music for a nice, pretty, cushioned world. Music to escape reality. Delightful, but deceptive. Civilization, Madge, is surface deep. There's not much between us. and our darker natures. Just about a coat of varnish.
Planned a clinical murder. Cool, controlled. It wasn't like that. Because after you'd strangled her, just for a moment you lost control. And in a burst of blind animal savagery, you mutilated her. You battered her head in with a hammer. Then you were calm again. You set about creating the impression of a burglary. The stolen money, the disordered room. Then you went downstairs. You broke the lock of the garden door to distract attention from the front, and still further strengthen the impression of an intruder. You removed some silver dishes from the dining room to support the burglar theory, and returned upstairs to hide them in your medical bag. You stayed here in the house of the woman you had most brutally murdered for several hours. Not many men could have done that. We think, without being certain, that you spent nearly all that time sitting quietly in her bedroom, because we found a bit of fluff there from a suit of yours, grey worsted.
I must have worn that suit in that bedroom 40, 50 times.
Oh, it doesn't prove anything in itself. I just wanted you to know that we're confident that we know what happened. You worked out that we should wear ourselves into the ground, didn't you? Trying to pick up sightings after the murder. Well, you were right. We must have traced every breathing human being who was on the move in this area between 9 and midnight, and all the time you were sitting upstairs. We believe that you finally slipped away while it was still dark, but not long before dawn, perhaps a little after 4. Must have been a nice, fresh summer morning. There's a quality people used to call arrogance of soul. It takes some people above themselves. It gives them the courage to die in torture. It takes other people below themselves. Then they can kill in torture. I think you're ready now to talk to me.
Yes, I'm ready.
Moment. Take your time.
You don't have all that much, do you? I understand that you're retiring early. I can't, no? Naturally, before you break your staff, you want to end with a success. I've listened carefully, Chief Superintendent, to everything you had to say. I've answered your questions to the best of my understanding. I've paid close attention to your various profiles of my character. Interesting, even flattering profiles. I have also followed your reconstruction of certain alleged actions of mine. Now, I'm going to take a leaf out of your book and tell you that you are a most unusual man. We are, in fact, not unlike. In my profession, I sometimes tell an intelligent patient that I'll treat him like a specimen on the table being examined by the two of us. Let's look at your case together, like a body on the table. Forget the psychological approach. Let's look at the body of facts. What have we got? Yes, I was connected with Lady Ashbrook. Yes, I did some business for her. Yes, some of the business evaded some minor tax regulations. Yes, I was her executor after death. Yes, I was in a position to make a little money out of her. What else? Nothing. That's it, the sum total. That's all we have in the way of fact. All else is conjecture. No solid tissue, no concrete lesions, no proof. And that's what we need to complete a successful operation. Proof. And that's what we don't have. And now, if you'll forgive me, I really must get back to my patients. Oh, 2 minor matters. This house. I consider that I've helped you as much as I reasonably can by allowing you to use it as a base for your investigations, but as executor of Lady Ashbrook's will, I do have a certain responsibility to the beneficiaries. If you have made no further progress in, shall we say, a month from tonight, I shall feel obliged to commence proceedings to obtain vacant possession.
And the other minor matter?
Occasionally I have a touch of sciatica in my right leg. Have you ever had it? Makes walking rather painful, especially in the rain. I'd be obliged if you could lay on transport. Yes, I would like the police car that brought me here to take me home. At once, please.
Norman.
Yes.
Thank you. All papers relating to Lady Ashbrook's estate will be sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Inland Revenue.
Ah. I admit I made a modest killing, but that kind of killing and the one you have in mind, that's another story, isn't it? Good night, Detective Chief Superintendent.
Doctor, you did it. I know you did it. What do you say?
Prove it.
You come here how often?
Once or twice a week, perhaps.
Illegally?
Well, of course. The estate has had vacant possession since August.
But you still come.
The place haunts me. As I haunt it. I know what happened here that night beyond all doubt. As I've been a fly on the wall, I know it.
You said you expected a development when you telephoned and asked me over. What development?
Bringing a murderer to justice is, to say the least, morally and socially desirable. You agree?
Provided he's brought there by due process of law.
The law and justice don't always ride tandem.
Justice is mocked from time to time.
It's by a too rigid adherence to the legal process, wouldn't you say?
By ensuring that the benefit of the doubt goes to the accused.
Suppose a person were in a position to give justice a helping hand. Suppose, in a case where guilt was certain but proof was lacking, it were possible to provide that proof. There could be a moral obligation, a duty even, in certain exceptionally vicious circumstances, a clear and unavoidable duty to do just that. Wouldn't you say?
A clear and unavoidable duty to tamper with the course of justice?
In the name of justice.
To undermine the law?
The letter, not the spirit. To distort the truth in order to reveal it. To convict a murderer, as cold-hearted a killer as it's given to a man to be. What do you say?
I would say that to do that would be to commit a sort of murder oneself.
A sort of murder? All right, yes, all right. A sort of murder. But a murder with an unspoken mandate from society. A murder in the name of a higher good, wouldn't you say?
Whoever managed to persuade himself of that would have to be a sick man.
Sick?
Obsessed. Obsession is a sickness. Playing God is a sickness. Such a person would be playing God.
And what? Do tell me, were you playing on the island when you pulled every dirty trick in the book?
I was a soldier fighting a war. You don't fight wars with a rule book. You're a policeman keeping the peace. You can't do that without one.
Well, we all have our fantasies. I was just flying an imaginary kite. Briers. Right. Get a warrant, bring him in. No, on second thoughts, I'll bring him in myself. Yes, I'm sure I'll do it. And not without a certain relish. And Norman, thanks. Well, you never know your luck, do you? Luck? It seems they've found a suit, a man's grey worsted, buried in the garden of an empty house not half a mile away from here. And sewn into the lining of the doctor's initials. Oh, by the way, it's stained with blood.
How did you know where to look?
We had a tip-off.
From whom?
It was anonymous. We get them all the time.
Why didn't he destroy it? I mean, if that was the suit he was wearing when he killed her.
Oh, you don't doubt that he killed her?
Of course he killed her. But a blood-stained suit complete with initials, why bury it? Why not destroy it?
You believe that someone nicked that suit from the doctor's wardrobe one day when he was out attending to some bed of pain, smeared it with the appropriate blood group, and planted it in that garden half a mile away. That is what you're thinking, isn't it?
What I'm thinking is not the question. The question is what he will say. And what he almost certainly will say is that this is your last case, that you desperately wanted to win it, that to make assurance double sure you've had him framed, that you planted a suit of his in that garden, appropriately doctored. If, when that is put to you, what will be your answer?
The same as his. when I told him I knew he was a murderer. I should just say, prove it. Oh, now let's get out of here, shall we, before we freeze to death. Do you want to know the real question, the $64,000 conundrum of our life and times? How long can a society survive that still believes that life is a cricket match to be played in strict accordance with the rules, while those who would destroy that society believe there are no rules? That in a world where violence, kidnap, hijack, random terror in the streets and skies, assassination are a daily diet, nothing's sacred, nothing's barred. The end justifies the means, the most brutal, pitiless, murdering means on earth. How long? Well, I'll tell you how long. Not very.
You throw away the rule book, albeit in a just cause. You add one more brick to the building of the ultimate degenerate and corrupt society. Is such a society worthy of survival?
Oh, I don't know. I only know it's a profound need of society to take its revenge on those who offend its deepest instincts. And you know who said that? Ralph Perryman, MD, FRCS. May she rest in peace.
Will you?
In A Coat of Varnish by Ronald Millar, suggested by the novel by C.P. Snow, Frank Briers was played by Peter Barkworth, Dr. Perryman, Paul Daneman, Humphrey Leigh, David Langton, Lady Ashbrook, Mary Ellis, Captain Loseby, Anthony Daniels, Susan Thirkill, Stacy Dorning. Sergeant Tanner, James Bryce, Chief Inspector Rees, James Kerry, Inspector Shingler, David Peart, Professor Morgan, John Strickland, Maria Eve Karpf, police photographer Mark Straker. The play was directed by David Spenser.